Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the all-new Ghost and Horror Stories video. For this entry, as always, the stories come from the reddit.com website, and there's a subreddit known as the Free Horror Stories. I'll include the links for them below in case you wanted to see more information about them. But yes, for this special edition, I decided to mix in two stories into one. This is because both of them individually will be pretty short in of by themselves, and so together into one video I thought it would work much better. Both of them though have to do with some very strange, creepy encounters. One that occurred at a restaurant with a real person, in other words, causing this creepiness, and then with the other one having to do with a potential shadow person, this time happening at someone else's home. So again, lots of information to share between both of these stories. Let's go ahead and we'll start with the first one here. It's titled A Plus Buffet. More on that here in a minute as to why it's titled that. And it's from a user named Jordan Cox 23 who wrote this about 2 years ago. And as always, I'll give my own thoughts and opinions after each story. So let's go ahead and let's talk about A Plus Buffet first. So here's what Jordan Cox 23 said. It's definitely not the scariest thing I've been through, but for sure one of the creepiest. I'm a 19-year-old female, but when this happened, I was 17. So this happened around the beginning of April of 2018. I was out with my family and my still current boyfriend shopping for some prom blank. I wasn't really big into the whole prom thing, but was going for, I guess, the experience. The most boring night of my life, by the way. But anyways, back to the story. After the whole shopping thing was finally over, we decided to go get food from somewhere. My older brother mentioned A Plus Buffet / Mongolian Grill. And so we all decided that sounded pretty good and headed over there. As we were eating, laughing, and talking, you know what people do, I noticed an older man, maybe late 60s to early 70s, looking at me, smiling, and I turned around thinking maybe he was looking at someone else, but no one was behind me, so that meant he was looking straight at me. I got a little weirded out, but brushed it off and then continued eating. A minute or two later, I look at him again. Now, not only is he still looking at me, smiling, but he's also making kissy faces at me. I got a little nervous and uncomfortable, so I quietly mentioned it to my family and boyfriend. They all told me to ignore him and that we're leaving soon. I calmed down a little bit, but I couldn't help but look back at the man, and I wish I didn't because when I did, my stomach dropped, and now I was on the verge of crying. He's now wiggling his tongue in between his middle and index finger. I'm sure everyone knows what that means, and I couldn't take it anymore. I started crying and ran out of the restaurant. I know, call me a P word, but I've been raped and sexually assaulted before, and obviously going through that blank was a very traumatic experience for me, as for anyone who's been through it. But I was extremely uncomfortable and I couldn't be there a second longer. Turns out after I left, my foster mom yelled at him for making me uncomfortable, but he wouldn't even acknowledge her presence. He was too busy staring at my boyfriend with rage plastered on his face. I haven't gone back to that restaurant or seen that man since, and I would like to keep it that way. So that essentially ends the story, A Plus Buffet, from Jordan Cox 23. Obviously a very eerie, very creepy story, a real life encounter in this case with somebody there, whoever this older man was, that was just causing so much things, obviously, like unwanted advances and so on to this young girl. This is obviously a situation where here they were, in her case, going for a restaurant experience with her family after a special night, and then realizing that this man was there doing anything and everything to make her absolutely uncomfortable, not caring one bit in the world as to who was noticing him and what their reactions were, and afterward, especially with the foster mom yelling at him, not caring about that, and instead taking things to another level in terms of him just staring at the boyfriend with just dead set rage, like obviously he was about to do something. When you think about that situation more, it's just so creepy because so many dangerous things could have happened right there, potentially deadly, and it was happening in that normal restaurant, the kind of stuff you would never ever think of, especially in public. for something like this to just happen. So again, a pretty creepy story, and that's again from that user Jordan Cox 23. This next story has to do with what that's called Scary Halloween Story. Just a pretty nonchalant title, but it comes from a user by the name of Dark Lord 5689, who wrote this about 2 years ago. So here's essentially what they stated. This story happened back in 2017. I was trick-or-treating when my legs started to hurt like hell. Thankfully, my house was nearby, so I walked home. My dad checked on me and said that he was going to be at the house across the lawn. I said okay, and then my dad left. I was laying on the couch eating some candy when suddenly my body went numb and I couldn't move. My vision got wired. The best way to put it is as big black snowflakes. I tried to scream, but nothing came out, and I was suddenly able to move my head and looked into the other room where I saw a tall figure walking very slowly. But then it all ended and I was able to move again. I told my mom about it along with a few friends. And if any of you have any good explanations on why this happened, please tell me. And that's it. A short story, but that's essentially everything that user DarkLord5689 stated for their scary Halloween story. Lots of information missing here, so one just has to put some missing pieces together. So I can't tell like how young or how old this user was when this happened in 2017, presumably on the younger side. And then as far as, going trick-or-treating and then taking that candy, one doesn't know essentially if maybe that candy was laced with something else. You hear about those stories, obviously, where something happens with people's drinks or the food that they eat, and then that causes them to have some very bad experiences afterward, especially when it comes to not being able to remember things. So one wonders if that's the situation that happened here. But in the case of it being paranormal, like something else in terms of shadow people, that's where it just goes into a whole other world. Here you have then this situation where this person could have had something else, like in terms of a shadow person entering their area just out of the blue, and then causing, just by its presence, to have their body, their mind, and their surroundings just become so distorted. Like when the body couldn't move, their vision going into a weird, as they described it, big black snowflakes, and then finally just having this thing look like it was walking by in very slow motion. So I'm guessing more it's along the lines of the latter, where it is truly a paranormal experience that occurred to this Dark Lord 5689. Whoever what it was when it comes to this shadow person, it definitely made its presence known, and then just as quickly as it was there, it was gone. And then when that happened, that's when this user was able to return back to normal, if you could put that in quotations, and then try to figure out what essentially happened. But yes, those are the two entries associated with this video. Let me know what your comments are below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are if you've had any similar experiences, either on the creepy side involving a restaurant or any other location with a real person, someone else, just trying to make someone so uncomfortable as possible, or on the paranormal side, as what happened to this other user there at their home. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.